How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm great. Wish my Flyers were doing better, but
We just
I
had
think
Scott Hartnell on. What do you remember about him?
Scotty's great, man. Last time I saw him was at the Super Bowl. The Eagles were up, and my son came back with a beer. Next thing I know, I look over, and there's Hartnell hugging my son with a high beer high, man, and everything was toasting. It was fantastic. So Scotty's a great guy, great soul. He's got it together. Very smart too. Very smart hockey player, and very knowledgeable in the world of what makes a good hockey club tick. In my view, just a great guy. And I was speaking of Hartnell, talking to Steve Coetzee last week too. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's been retired for a year now, and we were just kind of airing our frustrations, so to speak, out in the Philadelphia Flyers organization. And someone who bleeds orange and black, and was really committed to spreading Ed Snyder's charitable contributions and what he did for the game. He was a very unique man. And I could say that he definitely is probably not rolling in his grave, but he's probably the ghost of Ed Snyder, who's wearing a Rangers jersey and walking around the streets of Philadelphia pissed off.
Yeah, I think understandable. Everyone, as a former Flyer, I don't know if you know that, David. I did a 1-game emergency backup. Brian Boucher, the year you guys went to the Cup, lost to the Hawks, I backed up 1 game. So I'd always joke around with Laviolette when I would see him that I was like the piece they needed to get to the Cup final that year. So I was a fly on the wall for 1 game, which is always funny. But I always loved playing in Philly. I played a ton of games there, especially when I was in Buffalo, and I bounced around in my career. I spent 10 years in the NHL. That was a rink where I would just have a lot of fun because I knew I was going to get it, right? As the goalie, it was going to be pressure on me. They were going to be hard. Is it still that feeling, tonight, obviously it's in Toronto, but what's it like your matchup right now as a Flyers fan going against the Leafs? Scott Laughton is now a Leaf. What are your feelings, headed into this game and, I guess late in the season here?
Well, when you lose a player like Scott Laughton, you pretty much lose a big part of your locker room. I mean, here's a guy who's just down-to-earth, character-driven guy, and he's just got a lot of love for the game, and he works so hard on the ice. I know his transition into Toronto must be very unique for him. Just a phenomenal player. He will definitely leave it all on the ice. But when a player like that leaves an organization, especially in Philadelphia, you lose a lot of that heart that's there, that's already been gone for quite some time, in my opinion. I wish him the best, and I hope that he can help contribute to the Leafs and put them over the hump that you guys so desperately need to get into the playoffs, have a deep run, and make it to the Cup this year. So, I'm rooting for him in a lot of ways. But it's when you see a player like that go and what he's done for the city of Philadelphia, it's definitely tough for sure.
What made him so likable? Like, he was a fan favorite there, right?
Yeah, he just was a hard-working guy on the ice, and he was so personable off the ice. And like I said, hockey is a very unique sport. I think compared to all the other sports, all these players are just, most of them are so down to earth and humbled. They play such a hard game, and what I love about the hockey community is that they really are there for you, regardless of what you're going through in life, and that's what I love so much about the game. And from someone who's on the outside who just plays pickup, hockey, and has worked with the Flyers on many events. You just kind of you love that camaraderie, and Lots just brought that to the locker room, on the ice, and he just was one of those staple figures, and he'll always go down as a Flyer.
Yeah, and he's, I think he embodies what you want to be in a hockey player and a teammate, and what becomes of it. Something, you touched on, right? I think that's so important. And another player who played for Philly, Anthony Stolarz. Obviously, he's taken a different path, right? Similar to my path, right? He was a backup. He bounced around, and now he's really cutting his teeth and becoming the guy. Like, what is your takeaway about his development, like when he was with the Flyers to now?
Wow. I mean, Stoley, the goalie, he came out and he played for Philadelphia. He was right off the bat very impressive, had the Stoley, the goalie kind of emblem going on, and they loved him in Philadelphia. And it just seems as though it just kind of didn't happen for him in Philadelphia. He just went on, and I remember at the facility one time being there, and he wasn't with the Flyers organization anymore, but he'd be back in New Jersey in Voorhees, the training facility, and I was working out one day there, and he was there, and I was just impressed because it was Stoley, the goalie. I'm very happy for him and his development. I don't know too much as far as how he is doing right now, but again, a player that was just kind of faded out of Philadelphia. And usually some of these players that fade out of Philadelphia go on and have pretty successful careers with other teams. So I guess that just happened. And unfortunately, we don't have that goalie right now. So that's another tough pill to swallow.
It is. And then Stolarz had a great year, of course, backing up last year in Florida's Cup run behind Sergei Bobrovsky. And now he's turned more into like a 1A, 1B type guy. He's been awesome. Speaking of awesome, a guy who hosts this show very often, Jay Rosehill. Do you remember him in a Flyers jersey?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It was, I just, talking about, affiliated with you guys throughout the years is, it's been quite a trip, being on my show, and we just wrapped out last year. The show's, you can still check it out on Paramount Plus, but you guys have kind of been my anchor to a lot of the hockey text world. You text me, it's whatever, if the Flyers are playing, if they're doing good, if they're doing bad. So yeah, just to ride that kind of wave with y'all has been fantastic.
And another guy, we're just, making those ties, right, between the Leafs, Flyers, Craig Berube, a guy I got to play with.
I love Chief.
Right. Like we're talking about like a team that is known for being soft come playoff time, a team that is known for, not being there. What is Chief going to do? And what have you seen him do when you were watching him, like the way he coached with Philadelphia?
Wow. What a guy. We were upset that we lost him. That was quite a brutal kind of loss for us. Man, it's so tragic in Philadelphia. You have these great coaches and players, and then they leave and they go on and they're so successful. What I love about Chief, he's just hard-nosed hockey. He really understands a hockey player. Right, he can identify it, and he's strong-willed. He's tough with his own presence. Like his energy alone on the bench, you just feel that energy of intensity, but not overwhelming intensity. Like he expects the most of you. He expects you to show up, be on time, work hard on the ice, do what you need to do, win the battles. And his players respond to his coaching. And hey, it's a hell of a pickup for Toronto. I think you guys, we're struggling with some coaches in some seasons, and I think he really anchors that for you all in Toronto. But great guy. Spent some nights with him, having a beer here and there, and I just really love talking hockey with him. And very down to earth guy. So I just love Chief and what he's done.
Love the style and brand too, and I think it's unique in this conversation too that the way Philadelphia embodies the game and how they want to play every year. It's just that gritty type style, and that's what we're looking for in Toronto. And that's why I think there's a part of me that thinks that Berube could be the guy to extract that out of this team come the Stanley Cup playoffs, because that's been the big thing with this Leafs team, David, in the past, is that they're sort of soft and can't get in the dirty areas in the playoffs.
Yeah, hey, look, and hopefully he can give that to you and infuse that into some of your players there. I think Philadelphia has lost that grit and it has lost that kind of tempo, so to speak. They need so much offensively. Philadelphia was always dominant with a pure center down the middle. Like that was Philadelphia's game. Now you go to the corners and, they'll hand you a menu and a wine menu these days. They let guys sniff on the blue line, and they're just not competitive hockey players. There are a few that I kind of like. I like Sealer. I think Paling's game is kind of cool. But they need defensemen. They need a center. They need a goalie. They need a lot. And it's just hard to watch an organization be drained. I got to be careful what I say here because, I love the city of Philadelphia. I love the pride that it has taken on, but it's that whole new era of a new orange. I'm not seeing it, and it's hard to watch that. So changes I feel have to happen. I think Torts is a great coach. I think that it just wears thin on the players after a while. I mean, it's tough. I mean, he's he's hard and expects a lot. He's going to coach the way he's going to coach. And that, I respect that completely. But I think there comes a time when the players just stop responding to that type of kind of energy that's coming at them. I was talking to Jim Hiller a couple of weeks back. We did a celebrity skate thing for all the fire victims out here that lost their homes. and it was a great turnout. And I've never met a coach. I met this coach was just fantastic. I was really taken in by just the way he, you know, where he was from and how he approaches the game, and you know how he goes in the locker room. And he's very much like, and because I asked him, like, do you go in and rally your troops before they go out? Like, how do you get under their skin? He's like, you know, I don't really think about it too much. It could be like a song I listen to on the way into the game, but I allow the energy to dictate what I'm going to say to them. And I think that's a really interesting way of motivating your players to get the best out of them. And you see what the Kings are doing this year. I mean, I really feel the Kings are in a prime position to be in the finals this year, the Cup finals, just with the way their players are playing. Defensively, they got the goalie and they got the coach. And they're a surprising team this year, and I really like them in the West. But you know, Philly has a long way to go. You know, they have a long, long way to go, man, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And some of the coaches I played for, I mentioned it earlier, played for Laviolette in Nashville, and I was like, sometimes that energy, it's hard to match every single day, right? Like, you need to be able to read players, and everyone responds differently. You know, for me, as long as you don't say Fedotov, because I'm not a big fan, and I hate how we, as goalies, like how I had to cut my teeth, and we get these guys from overseas and they just get keys to the castle, get the contract. Who would you play if you had to be an NHL player? Like, you're doing a movie, what guy would you want to choose to play that role? Like, you know, who's the guy?
Well, attitude-wise, man, Bernsey, it just came to mind. I just had dinner with him last week, and he's just a great guy. As far as his strength and his structure is concerned, I'd have to lose my front teeth, that's for sure. But I don't know how the hell he would do that. I love his grit and just the way his kind of his everlasting run in the NHL and how he came into the league and how he was a forward and then he become a defenseman. And you know, there's another guy who kind of I resemble. I think he plays for the St. Louis Blues, and I think it might be Biaski. Is that his name? I don't know. But he kind of looks familiar to me as far as, like, you know, looks is concerned. But, you know, there was some talk a few years back about doing the Broad Street Bullies film. Like, I know Dave Schultz's son wrote a screenplay. He sent it to me, and then it went through another turnaround with another phase of a director. And, you know, that's a tough one to get off the board because you got to get the rights to all the players. So if one disagrees and the other two are in, then you're not going to be able to make this film. So, but I like Bernsey's grit, determination. You know, I always loved Ron Hextall, his play. I'd love to play Hexy. I mean, I think he's one of my favorite players growing up, and watching him hold that crease and the way he dominated, and, you know, the way he went after goalies, and he didn't take any shit. If anybody was in his crease, man, he would make it known, like, you're not messing with him. But here's a guy who, you know, I think he's from Manitoba, or I think he's from Manitoba.
Yeah.
So what do you do in the summertime? He's like, I bear home, man. You got to be patient for these types of guys, man. But, yeah, you know, look, the grit of Philadelphia is lost. And, you know, Jeremy Roenick, another great guy, great player, played for the Flyers. I love Jeremy. I saw him a couple weeks ago at this event, and just so down to earth, man. You know, it's funny. I was watching also, talking about goalies, this whole call that happened last night with the Islanders, man, that's a big loss, man. And a lot of people don't see, like, when you're fighting for that position, that 1 point can make a huge difference, and because it's so close in the East, right? And the way Patrick Waugh, like, his post game, like, being a goalie, is like, yeah, well, you know what? Looks like the goalie pushed him out of the crease, man. So I don't know what the rule really is. I think that's always been this kind of argument. Like, what's the crease? What does it mean? Like, what's the rule? And if Toronto can't overrule it, then why do we have it? And it's fascinating what's going on with that rule.
Yeah, and it's a great reminder too. And Huts, I give him shit all the time, and I know you're not from this era specifically, but goalies back then cut from a different cloth. They're so soft now. They're so soft. It's a different game. David, before we let you go, you know I'm a big fan of SEAL Team. I love the fact that you had those little Flyers nuggets through all the seasons of the show. 8 years of playing a Navy SEAL. What was that experience like, and how much of a toll did that play on your body, man?
That's a lot. You know, we wrapped out last end of May in Colombia. We shot there, and I felt this huge weight come off my shoulders of leading the show. And great experience, very humbling, very fortunate to play that type of a role. We shot it in a very authentic kind of way. So you're always kind of with the SEALs and the special operators. You're not really losing their point of view, but it really hit home for a lot of veterans that are suffering from PTS, TBI, and we're able to shine a lot of light in those dark areas, and it's helped out so many people. And so proud of the show. You know, it was one of the biggest accomplishments as far as achieving physically and mentally to play this character. So yeah, I'm post healing right now. I did the stem cell thing in certain areas. It's going well. I highly recommend it. Yeah, I feel a lot stronger right now, and I have some really cool, exciting things and opportunities coming my way. So I just got to get the body and the mind ready, and that's where I'm at. And I feel really much better from where I was last year. That's for sure.
Great to hear. You're the best. It's been awesome catching up with you. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Definitely, bud. Cheers to all you guys, man.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.